Hello and welcome to EV Review Ireland. My name is Derek Reilly. Today we are with right-hand drive Renault Megane E-TECH Electric, and we're back in Ireland. And if this is the first time on the channel, if you're interested in all things electric, make sure you subscribe. We're on a drive to 12,000 subscribers by the end of this year, 2022. Back in February of 2022, I was lucky enough to drive this at the international launch, so I have a over 20-minute video on the channel, so I'll click the link on the screen and also in the description. You can pause this video, go off, and there's a lot of detail in that. But today what we're going to be talking about is the difference in the trim levels, but also the difference between the right-hand drive version that we're currently getting in the UK and Ireland versus what they're getting in France. Some people aren't too happy about it, so let's get into the details. What we have here is the 60 kilowatt hour Techno, which is, there's three different trims currently available in the UK and Ireland. You've got Equilibre, I think that's how you pronounce it. To my French viewers, bonjour, bonsoir, let me know how I pronounce Equilibre. That's the entry level, and then you have Techno, which is this version, and then you have that Launch Edition. In the UK, you're only getting the bigger battery, the 60 kilowatt hour battery usable. In Ireland, we're getting the 40 and the 60. As well as those two trim levels, we're also getting the Launch Edition. Over in France, they have a couple of different trim levels, Equilibre, the Techno, and they're calling it the Iconic. So they're not calling it the Launch Edition. And they also have a couple of different charging speeds, but it seems to be UK and Ireland, we're kind of on the same level with regards to AC, DC charging. We're going to be talking about that. But in the UK, you're only getting the bigger battery. Over here, we've the options of the 40 kilowatt hour battery. In Ireland, the 40 kilowatt hour battery is starting off at around 37,500 euros, and the 60 kilowatt hour battery is starting off at around 41, nearly 42,000 euros, with that Launch Edition coming in at nearly 50,000 euros, at around 47, 48,000 before options. How are you going to know the difference? What's the availability and what can you get? The same beautiful sculptured bonnet that we talked about in the initial review, this large new Renault logo made out of two lines, really nice. You've got those chrome bars, you've got these beautiful LED pure vision headlights with those daytime running lights and the indicators built in. On the one I reviewed back in Spain, it was the Launch Edition is what we know now, and it had that gold accent and what they're calling the F1 blade. That's only available on the Launch Edition in the UK and Ireland. So if you see that gold, that means that person has gone for that Launch Edition. Underneath that then you've got that black, gloss black splitter. Some air vents in the side here, and then you start to see the difference between the two different trims. The entry-level Equilibre trim only comes with an 18-inch alloy. Then we have the 20-inch alloys on the Techno and on the Launch Edition, but the Launch Edition gets a slightly different design on that alloy. Charging port will always be on the opposite side to the driver, so I didn't know that when I was over in Spain. And what we're getting in Ireland is a 22 kilowatt standard on AC as well as in the UK. And so we're in France, you get the option of a 7 or a 22, which is interesting. So we're getting a very good AC charging speed with that Chameleon charger. And then on DC, we're getting, again, very well spec'd 130 kilowatt maximum peak on the DC, so that's 10 to 80% in about 30 minutes if you can find that charger. Nice use of that Renault icon shape. It's not the actual logo, it's just the outline of the actual shape. Glass black wheel arches, glass black retractable wing mirrors with the indicators built in. You've got your body colour, you've got your flush door handles that pop out if I didn't have it locked. Then you've got your matte grey and your glass black underneath. So you're going to see the wheel sizes as a difference. In the entry-level trim, you're only going to get solid colour. With Techno and Launch, you're going to get the option of solid colour, but also two-tone. And the options of the two-tone are a grey or a gloss black. So you'll see this one is the metallic midnight blue with the diamond black, gloss black. Doesn't come with a sunroof. And you've got that rear handle at the back here that we talked about. That's the full width. Really nice to get to. Sloping roofline, it's got that chrome line to kind of fool the eye. Some people are calling it an SUV, but really it's a hatchback. This is opened up for me. Let's take a spin around the back and have a look and see the design there. Moving down around the back, and another way you're going to spot between the Equilibre and the Techno is the Equilibre has like a wire antenna, whereas the Techno and the Launch have that shark fin aerial. Spoilers are the same. You've got that little dinky rear view mirror that it is a kind of a letterbox, and we've got the camera in underneath, so it's caught within it. You've got the rescue codes on front and rear for the emergency services in France, we believe. You've got this, when I say stunning, I mean absolutely stunning light configuration here, and it is that coast to coast large Renault logo Megane with this beautiful gold E, little square for popping the boot. It doesn't open itself. You have 440 litres and another 25 litres in underneath for a cubby hole for the cables, so it's deep. So it's interesting, it's wide enough. It's a family hatch, I think it's fairly well spec'd. And then you have gloss black in underneath with that body coloured, and you've got that diffuser down there as well. Beautiful. I think the styling on this is absolutely stunning. Let's have a look on the inside. Inside the Renault Megane E-TECH Electric, and this is where it starts to get a small bit contentious, but listen, we'll go through the numbers. And we only get one trim internally in Ireland. It is a dark trim with a dark headliner and a grey seat, fabric in the middle and synthetic leather on the sides. A lot of recycled plastics used inside here, but a hard plastic on the top, and you've got the suede option on this version that we get in Ireland and the UK. In France, and on the review that I did back in February, it was a lovely kind of like a wood effect with like dots drilled into it, and in France they have a light interior with that wood effect on it. So I think that brown wood effect, and we're going to get these at some stage in Ireland. I think what's after happening is Renault France are after saying things are tight with stock and supply, so what we're going to do is we're just going to give some of the options to the French market. It is their home market, and this Renault Megane has been the best seller for the last couple of months at time of release of this video, whereas in other markets, well, specifically right-hand drive that I'm aware of, so I've done the research on the Irish and the UK Renault websites, it seems to be, this is what we're getting at the moment. We will be getting other options down the line once supply chains start to open up. So you've got this metal effect with that ambient light in underneath, then some soft touch. You've got a lot of buttons down here. You've got your 4 electric windows, and on the Techno they're all automatic down. You've got the ability to lock, you've got the ability to retract, and also turn these mirrors so that they, when you reverse, that they start to move around. So you've got all those options. Decent sized door bin, it's carpeted, the full footwells are all carpeted, and then you've got that center console for all the storage areas. You've got a 12 volt, you've got 2 USB Type C's in here. Kind of funny because if you plug in a phone, there's no, your kind of phone is flopping around the place. You've got this nice armrest, doesn't move. Moving up then on the steering wheel, and like a lot of Renaults, there's a lot of buttons going on here. So if this is a competitor to the ID3 and you don't like the ID3 because of the touch sensitive and the radio, etc., and the infotainment, sorry, this is the exact opposite of it. So you've got your driving modes on the left hand side. On the right hand side you've got your phone and the ability to change visuals on the menu. You've got your multi-sense button with regards to the driving styles. Above your right hand knee then you have the audio stalk. You also have the regenerative brake and paddles, and there's 4 of those. You have your light stalk on the left, you've got your window wiper stalk on the right, and then you've got your mode selector. What I found is when I'm doing like 3-point turns, I'm hitting the wipers instead of the actual drive mode stalk, so the reverse neutral drive gear stalk. And so that's just getting used to it because I'm hopping in and out of cars. The steering wheel is reach and rake, which is great. And you've got a 12.3 inch screen behind the driver. Very reminiscent of the Opel design language where they're going with the likes of the Mokka and the Astra with that pure view screen, they call it. But the difference within this is you've got the vents built in, and you've got a nice little vent breaking up the driver infotainment screen, driver instrument cluster, and the infotainment screen in the middle, which I think is great. Whereas on the Opel, it's kind of a big slab and there's a lot of black gloss that's not been utilized. Moving over to the piece that people aren't happy about the most in the Irish and UK markets is it's currently only been spec'd with a 9-inch screen, and it is a horizontal screen. Whereas on the run I reviewed in in Spain, and in French market it is a 12.3 inch or 12.3 inch vertical portrait screen. Now, a positive about this is my knee, I'm 6'2", 188 centimeters, isn't touching the bottom of the little shelf with the Qi wireless charger, whereas on the larger screen it was kind of coming in on my knee. Let's always be positive about it. Some people aren't happy about it. What we have here is Android Automotive built in, so you have the ability to dial into Google Maps, you have the ability to get certain apps for the actual infotainment, you've got Google Assistant, but what I like about what Renault have done instead of what they've done in Polestar and Volvo is I have the ability to still use Android Auto, which allows me to mirror my phone, and I have one of my favorite apps on there, which is Waze, which is really, really good for driving around and reporting issues to other drivers. Another great thing about this is you have actual buttons in underneath, so you've got your center locking button and your hazard button, but you have temperature up and down, physical buttons that you can actually use, AC on, demisting, where you want the actual air to flow. So hard to beat it. It is, as much as it's a smaller screen, I'm happy with the smaller screen. It would be nice if it was larger, but you know what, sometimes it might be a bit of a distraction. But there's a lot of buyers that aren't happy that on some websites still it's showing the larger screen. Reviews that we did back in February for the UK and Irish market, it was the larger screen, but we'll get it eventually if you want it now. Lovely, like speaker fabric on the dash. You've got a bit of an element of metal. You've got not a bad little, for a right-hand drive French model, a little glove box. You've got your power button in underneath here as well. Seats are really nice and comfortable. You've got ISOFIX in the front and 2 in the rear, so it is a 3 ISOFIX vehicle. Pity there isn't a sunroof. Let's have a seat in the back. I'm 6'2", 188 centimeters. This has manual adjustment, but with electronic lumbar support on the Techno version. I'm not sure what we get on the Launch Edition. One final thing from the front is on the Launch Edition, you've got that smart camera. So it is the ability to turn the wing mirror, or sorry, the rear view mirror. It is an actual monitor, so you can turn that on and turn that off, but that's only available on the Launch Edition. And I had that on in the other review, if you want to go and have a look to see how that worked out. I thought it was a really good camera. Let's have a seat in the back. In the back of the Renault Megane E-TECH Electric. It's tight enough with me. Now that seat could be a bit more forward if I was to scrunch up small, but so I'm 6'2", 188. We've got some pockets in the back. You've got 2 USB Type-Cs, flat floor. Really only 2 adults. You got 3 kids potentially, but the middle person that's sitting in there, it isn't as nice a seat as the other 2. You've got your 2 ISOFIX with your flaps, which are great for getting child seats in. No armrest, but 3 headrests. And it'd be nice if that was that brighter fabric interior, just to give it a bit more air. I can see potentially somewhere down the line we're getting a sunroof in this, but not at the moment. You've got your electric window button as well. And the door pocket is small. It's a hatchback in essence, so it is what you're getting. But it's nice to see vents and charging back here. Stick it out for a drive. What's it like driving the Renault Megane E-TECH Electric? From what I remember back in February, it was very good, and my memory isn't going yet. Really nice low center of gravity, obviously with an electric vehicle, but they've got a 110mm battery, so it's really low to the ground, so it still feels like a hatchback, as much as it's a small bit higher, but actually the overall height of it is lower than the Renault Zoe. The driving ratio, and again I talked about this back in my original review, it's a 12:1 ratio, whereas normally manufacturers have a 14 or a 16:1, so it feels really nimble. The suspension is set up probably about the right sweet spot, in the sense of it's not too soft, it's not too firm, just like Goldilocks and the porridge. I think they've got it. And as it goes up in speed on motorways, etc., the road noise isn't too bad, and also the comfort level starts to mellow itself out. Brakes are probably a bit bitey for my liking. There's 4 levels of regen, but I just find that from jumping in and out of other EVs, this one I just have to get used to it a bit more, and that's probably down to me, and they're probably fine. But just compared to others, I find them just a tiny bit bitey. That central screen is perfect. I have no problem with it. It is adequate. Do you need the larger screen? Absolutely, you don't need it. The driver infotainment cluster is really nice. The steering wheel being flat bottom and flat top, it's a 3-spoke steering wheel. There's great visibility on that driver display. Sometimes when I get into certain vehicles, the steering wheel cuts through the screen, so they've made it nice and chunky, and the seat's nice and upright with it. Acceleration is good, and there's different driving modes, so you have comfort, you can eco, sport, and then you can actually personalize it as well. Great to have the regen, but unfortunately we don't have 1-stage regen, which is a bit unfortunate. On the battery size, and then in Ireland the equivalent electric motors that come with it, so you can get Equilibre with 1460, Techno at 1460 and the Launch with the 60 kilowatt hour battery. WLTP on the larger battery, they're saying in mid 400s. Realistically, you're probably talking mid to late 300 kilometers. And then with the smaller battery, they're saying around 300 kilometer, 320 on the WLTP, and real world, you're probably going to get around 250, 260. Efficiency wise, if I can bring that up now, let me see. What have I got going on here? Just from that drive there, and usually that starts off really high, it is 19.3 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, and Eco Monitor gives you a report out of 100, the score out of 100 as to how eco you drove or drive. But going back to those electric motors, so again in Ireland and in the UK you've only got the bigger battery, and so in Ireland we've got the choice of the smaller or the standard or the larger battery, and that will dictate then as to what electric motor setup is in it. And that electric motor setup is on the 40 kilowatt hour, you get a 96 kilowatt motor giving you 130 horsepower, and then on the larger battery you get 160 kilowatt motor giving you 220 horsepower. This is based on the CMF platform, which is the Mitsubishi Nissan Alliance. So this will be the same platform that you're going to get the new Renault 4, Renault 5, Nissan Micra. It's already going to be in use with the Nissan Ariya, which is coming to the channel soon as well. And it's really nice, really good. You know, they've done a really good job. Pricing wise, I think people were expecting it to come in a small bit more affordable, so they're a bit disappointed with that, and the fact that we're not getting any allowance for the smaller screen when you compare it to the likes of the French market. For roughly the same price, grants, etc., they're getting the larger screen and a lot more options. On Renault France website, you get the optional extras. There's 20 plus, everything from coffee machines to shelves for the seats, to roof boxes and roof rails. This has the ability to tow as well, so there is a towing kit on Renault France website. But as I said at the start, I think what's happening is just with supply and demand, the certain markets are getting limited as to what they can currently get. We're going to get a larger screen, we're going to get the wood effect dash, we're going to get, or the inlay, we're going to get the lighter seats and interior trim. What we do get in Ireland, which you don't get in the United Kingdom, is we get the option to spec the Techno or the Launch Edition with a heat pump if you want it. I'm going to give you an extra maybe 30 or 40 kilometers on those colder days if you do need that range. It's around 595 euros, about 500 euros in France. In the UK, you don't get that option at all. So the only option you get in the UK is colours. That's solid colours on the Equilibre and the Techno, but then you get the two tones with the different colour roofs, the greys and the blacks. So really the only options that you get in Ireland is the heat pump if you want it on the Techno, and then the colours. Everything else is fairly well spec'd, in fairness. It's got heated seats, heated steering wheel, those ISOFIX, a lot of driver assist, adaptive cruise control, lane centering, speed limit warning, etc, etc. But as I said, I've got a really long review on the channel already. I will try and get this again for my coast to coast challenge, where I take it from the west coast to the east coast in our Ireland, maybe the 40 kilowatt hour, maybe the 60 kilowatt hour, just to see what it is. But hopefully you've enjoyed the review. Let me know in the comments if you're thinking of it, what else you're looking at. It's up against the ID3, it's up against the new MG4, which there's a bit of a price difference in it, and it's roughly the same size car. Let me know in the comments if it's what you expected, if it's what you wanted, if it's something else that you're thinking of. What else should I compare it to? You got the Kia Niro EV. Remember, we're on the drive to 12,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We just passed 10,000 subscribers, so we'll be shouting about that during the week. I'm delighted with all the support that I get from my viewers and the community. Remember, if you think an EV is for you, leave it to me and I'll review. Thank you very much for watching.